Hey, I'm going to do a demo on using branching logic in questions on Torus basic pages. And the idea here is that depending on how the student answers a question, it will depend that will determine the next question or block of content that is displayed to the student. So in order to demonstrate this, I'm going to use this page I've made called Unicorn Branching in my AI generated purple unicorns demo course. I've already set up some things. So here I am in the author interface. We're also going to look at how the same page looks in the student interface. So here is how this page looks in the student interface. And I already have a couple of things set up here. And momentarily, I'm going to set up a new one. But let's look at what I have set up already. So I have this content in a group. Everything we're going to display is going to be in a group page element in Torus, and we'll see that. And so I have my first question. It's a multiple choice question. It says, do you want a question about red unicorns or yellow unicorns? And depending on what you pick here, you're going to see the next question. So if I pick red, it's going to give me a question about red unicorns. And if I were to reset my answers here, now if I picked yellow, then it's going to give me a yellow unicorn question. So that's the type of logic that we're looking at. Before I get into making a new one of these, then I want to just show this one other content group down here. And the reason this one doesn't have any questions, the reason I'm showing it is this has a different setup from the previous group. So this group we just looked at is set up so the content is going to reveal itself based on how the student answers, as we saw. This next one is going to be set up so that students can paginate through. So you'll see at the bottom here, we have different pages, and I can hit next and previous to get to different content. We don't want this pagination for our logic. Of course, we don't want students to be able to just click to find different content, for our branching. That would kind of ruin the branching effect. So I just putting this here because this is something that if you don't get the pagination right, and I'll show you how to do that, you'll see this. So if you're setting up your branching and you see this pagination, I'll show you what you need to do to make that go away. All right, so let's go back to our authoring interface. I'm in this unicorn branching page. I'm going to scroll past the content I already have. And at the bottom here, I'm going to add a new group. So I'm going to go into Insert Content and make a group. All of this is going to happen within a group. And I can do different types of setup here. I'm just going to start off by saying this a walkthrough. I also can just have not this. If you don't want this box at all, you can just say none. But I'm going to make mine a walkthrough. So now everything I'm going to do now is going to be inside this group. And I'm going to set up my different content blocks using breaks. So just to start off here, just so that we can see, I'm going to make 4 different sections. We call this section 1. I'm going to insert a break. I'm going to call this next one section 2. Insert another break. I'm going to do this to make 4 different sections. And you obviously don't need to number your sections the way I'm doing right now. You don't need to say the section number. I'm just going to do that for clarity so we can kind of see how I'm setting up the logic, and we can clearly refer to different blocks here. All right, I have 4 different sections now. So each has a content break in between it, and I've labeled them all. So in my first section here, this is where I'm going to put the initial question that is going to start off the branching. So I'm just going to do a multiple choice question. And I'm going to say, how many horns does a unicorn have? I'll say 1, 2, and let's add a choice 3. We're going to leave the correct answer as 1, and we'll come back to this once we set up our other sections. But for now, what I want to set up here is that it's going to go to one content block, um, one page section if we get the correct answer, which is one, and it's going to go to different content block if we get the incorrect answer, which is two or three. So I'm just going to set up that content and I'll come back and kind of rig this up the way I want it to be. So let's say section 2 is where we're going to go if the student got the correct answer. And in this case, maybe I'm not going to put in another question. I'm just going to say, congratulations, you got the right answer. As we'll see as I set this up, you don't actually have to have, I could just say, there's no new content that shows up if the student gets the correct answer, and maybe only if they get the incorrect answer. But in this case, I'm going to have this set up so that if they get the right answer, they're going to see this message. Now I want to set up the message that they get if they get the incorrect answer. So let's do this in section 3. And I'm going to set up another question here. Let's do another multiple choice question. And I'm going to say, which part of the term unicorn refers to the number of horns? So I'm maybe going to give them, a little prompting to think, well, okay, I don't know how many horns a unicorn has. Maybe I can think about breaking this word down a little bit. And let's make our two choices here, uni and corn. So uni is going to be the correct answer and corn is going to be incorrect. Now I can do further branching here, but let's say in this case, if they get the correct answer here, I don't have any further message that they get. They're just done. So I'm not going to set up any content block, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that in the question shortly. But maybe I want them to see one more block of content here, or like maybe they get one more, one more question, one more attempt if they get the incorrect answer. So then I'm going to go down to my section 4. This will be set up so that that is where they go for if they get the incorrect answer here. Let's make another multiple choice question. And we will then ask them, what does one or all right, so this one I'm gonna say my section 4 here is done. My answer key is already gonna say it's 1, so that's our last question. There's not gonna be any branching logic from here. So now let me scroll back up my sections and actually make the branching logic work, and I'll show you how this works. So for this one here, I want to now go, I want to do nothing if they pick the correct answer, which is uni. And if they pick corn, which is the incorrect answer, I want to go to this, this fourth section. So I'm going to go into answer key. And you'll see here, I have feedback for the answers, for correct or incorrect answer. And I have automate the reveal of a content page. This is not necessarily always there. This is displaying now because I have this section set up so that we can do this automation. But if I just made a question, I don't think that this would actually show up. Now, again, in this case, I don't want to do any further branching for correct, so I'm just going to leave that. But for incorrect, I do want to automate, and I want to say, if they get this incorrect, I want them to go to that fourth section. So I'm going to say display content group number 4, the fourth section. So that should work now. Now I'm going to scroll up. There's no question here. We don't have any branching logic coming from this one. So now I want to go back up to my initial question. And for this one, I want to have branching logic, whether it's correct or incorrect. So if it's correct, I want to go to that second panel. And if it's incorrect, I want to go to that third panel. So we'll do this. So now I have told Torus how to do branching, and of course this can get as arbitrarily complicated as you want it to be. But it's saying, from this initial question, that's the first section of the group, if they get the correct answer right away, they're going to go to this second panel between content breaks. If they get it incorrect, they're going to go to the third panel between, again, defined by this is the third, block of content beneath a content break. And then for this one, if they get it incorrect, they're going to go to this fourth. And again, the numbering here is defined by the content breaks. So I have the very top of the group. I'm in section 1. I have a content break. I'm in section 2. Content break again, section 3, and then another content break, section 4. And I can make as many different sections here and keep adding content breaks as much as I want. So this branching logic is now set up, and there's one other thing I want to do. And if you remember, when we had looked at the student page, then they had that pagination. I'll go back and show you. This one where I've already set up branching logic doesn't have any pagination. I can't scroll through my different content blocks. But on this one here, then I do. I can have this pagination to get through the content blocks. I don't want to have that pagination. I want the way that these blocks of content are displayed to be determined by my branching logic. So you'll see that the default up here is allow the user to paginate through items. That's not what we want. If I pick this, I can go reveal items with automation, and that's what I've set up. That's what I want to do. So I'm going to pick that. So now this is set up, and all I need to do, I'm going to validate that all my changes have been saved. I'm going to go and publish. I am automatically pushing all to my products and sections, adding demo branching, and I'm going to go ahead and publish. So this should go right through to my student content here. Let me just reload this and see if I get my new. Yep, I've got my new content. I'm going to reset my answers. So now I have this new block of content. And as I set up, how many horns does a unicorn have? If I pick 1, the correct answer, I'm going to see this. Congratulations, you have the right answer. But let me reset so we can see the other logic. Now I'm going to pick an incorrect answer. I go to section 3, which part of the term unicorn refers to the number of horns. So it's asking me now a follow-up question. If I pick the right answer, I don't get any other content. If you remember, I hadn't set up any branching, or if they got the correct answer here. Let's reset one more time. I'm going to pick the incorrect answer, and then I'm going to pick an incorrect answer again, and it's going to give me this last question. What does uni mean? And then depending on how I answer, there's no more branching logic after this. So whether I pick the correct or incorrect, that's just it for branching logic. And again, I can set up as much or as complicated branching logic as I want here. So that's it for branching. And you can see this is one of our use cases for why we have those content breaks and the different the groups and the content breaks in Torus. And hopefully this is helpful. Thanks.